What's going on, guys? Kenny here again, and today I've got another hype versus reality, and what I'll be talking about is this guy. That's right, guys, this is the Jason Guthrie Scout. These are custom made from custom maker Jason Guthrie, and he is out of South Africa. First things first, I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Mason at Daddyo EDC. For those of you guys that are somehow subscribed to me and not Mason, definitely need to go check him out. Not only is he just like, a really great channel with a lot of great content and super insightful guy, but he's also a really nice guy, very genuine and straightforward. So definitely a straight shooter, and I really appreciate him sending this my way. For those of you guys that don't know, these are not cheap, and they are very hard to get as well. Jason has a kind of like a waiting list. You have to get on his waiting list, and he has like a lottery every like twice a year or something to get on his waiting list to even order a knife. It's pretty difficult to get on his list. So these are kind of hard to get, and I really appreciate Mason sending this my way. Not only did he send me, one of his nicest knives, but he also, this is one of his favorites. This is like his everyday like work knife. So I really appreciate him sending this my way and letting me get a good amount of time with it as well. Not just, sending it my way and then expecting it back, a few weeks later. So thank you so much, Mason. Really appreciate it. And again, if you guys don't know who Mason is, or Daddyo EDC, I will go ahead and link his channel in the description. He has a YouTube channel, and he also has a really big Instagram channel. He's got like over 10,000 followers on Instagram. He's got a really great channel, so go check him out. And like I said before, this is a hype versus reality. And this is my comprehensive review. If you guys are looking for a shortcut review, this definitely isn't it. Getting right into it, I'm going to go ahead and put the specs on the page here. There's not a whole lot of specs out there on this knife, since it's not generally, at retail stores. So I'll go really quickly over it. As you guys see, this is a 3.2 inch blade. About a just over 4-inch handle. I'll go ahead and get a measurement here. We got 4 1/4 inch handle is what I'm measuring. And yeah, this is the smaller version of the Ranger, I believe. That's his larger model. That's the same kind of shape. And I don't know everything about Jason Guthrie or anything. This is my first experience with Jason. So really quick, I'll go over the width of the handle. We're looking at about an 1 1/8 to this point here, to that point there. So that's the widest point. But back here, it's pretty thin. You're looking at right around, let's call it 11/16. Or 13/16. So it's about 13/16 right here, just under 7/8 of an inch, just over 3/4. Right there, and then it kind of flares a little bit at the butt end. So yeah, really great. And then as far as blade width, looking about an inch blade width. So it's a really nice size EDC. It's a really great size. And then we'll get into some size comparisons. Go ahead and bring in a Benchmade. This is the 940, obviously. These are similar size knives for sure. A little bit longer cutting edge on the 940, and obviously a different blade shape, but similar size handles. A similar dimension this way, although the Scout is a little bit broader with this hump back here. You eliminate that hump and you're looking at almost the same profile, but similar size there. Then I'll go ahead and bring in a really good size comparison. This is the Chavez Redención Street. It's a really good size comparison, almost exactly the same in length, although obviously a little broader than the Scout. But if you're looking at the overall length, it's almost dead on. Very similar cutting edge, although this has more belly and stuff, a little more flat. Or I should say this has more belly. This has more flats with a more abrupt belly. So moving on, we'll get into some Spydercos. The Yojimbo, finally got one of those to check out on the channel. Very similar size knife. Then we've got a Domino, also a very similar size knife. So these will give you a good impression of how big the Scout is. And then we got a few more. We've got the large Sabinza 21 from CRK, obviously a bigger knife. And then I've got a Hinder Fire Attack, also a much larger knife. So you can see that the Scout's a really good EDC size. And we'll get into the hype. So as far as the hype on this knife, these knives have a lot going in front of them, per se. It's, you know, Jason Guthrie's known for his attention to detail, tolerances. He seems to have a claim to fame with his hand rub satins as well, and he uses a lot of cool carbon fiber handle materials. He's known for his Guthrie tungsten insert, essentially. And it's going to be hard to show you, but you can see it there. There's actually a tungsten carbide insert, like a post that goes into the lock face and actually makes contact with the lock. So that's one part of the hype, was that you know, lock that he created. These are, like I said, extremely hard to get, so they've got a lot of kind of, you know, like there's like a romance about them as far as getting one, and a lot of people talk about it, how hard it is to get them. They're known for their geometry, having a nice slicey edge, and being like a work knife, good as a work knife. So, you know, putting it to use seems like something that they're pretty popular for. And action as well, as you guys have probably already seen me flipping this thing, but known for having a great action and great ergonomics as well. So these things do have some hype preceding them for sure, or at least for me, especially coming from Mason. And then there's just a little bit of hype, what I would consider negative, just with, I guess, being hard to get, very hard to get these knives. And also I do have a little bit of negative hype just because my buddy Alchemy One had some small issues, which he's already put on his channel, but you know, just with like getting exactly what he wanted, and then there's just a little bit of negative surrounding that, as far as like being able to get all the things you would expect to get with something you're considering a custom knife. So in saying that, I'm going to go into the reality. The reality about this is it's a beautiful knife, guys. Let's just be real. When I got this thing out of the box after Mason sent it to me. Oh, by the way, thank you so much, Mason. Mason also included a mini Tough Light in that box, which was a surprise and really, really great of him. He always seems to throw something in there for me. But yeah, this thing is beautiful. The carbon fiber, this is like, it has like a steel, I'm not sure what the material is inside, but it's almost like within the carbon fiber they have this steel wire, and the steel wires are probably straight through there, and then as he contours it, you get this like really cool effect of seeing the edge of the wire. Really cool, you know, like proprietary pivot that's captured, and then you've got a Torx on the other side, so really nice. Actually, that looks like, yeah, that looks like an Allen key, not Torx. So that's even nice. That's really nice as well. These look like Torx, but that looks like an Allen key. So I never took this knife apart, guys, even though I'm sure Mason would have been okay with that. You can see that everything is finished off really nicely. Everything is chamfered really well. This inside edge is kind of sharp. Could have been chamfered a little better, but it's such a tight channel, I wouldn't see it being an issue. Really smooth back too, so you're not going to have any issue with your skin getting in there and creating a hot spot. Very, very nice though. Everything's very well finished. The jimping and everything's very well finished. Kind of like a polished finish on the carbon fiber. The titanium has like almost like a bead blast. It's done very well, like a matte finish, like satin finish bead blast. This is another thing he's known for, is this clip, kind of like a pillar stance clip. I usually do not like these pillar stance clips ergonomically, but this one seemed like it was pretty good. I'll get more into that later. It has nice, pretty nice as far as the the clearance there and stuff. You guys can see this is perfectly centered. Lockup is pretty much right at the beginning there. I don't know how he usually goes for with these, but you can see that just where that, it's like halfway across that tungsten insert. So really early lockup, but super solid. I would never ever think that this was gonna fail on me. I know that seems stupid, guys, but I've actually seen a lot of locks move with that, so it's a good like test without actually spine whacking somebody's knife. And you guys can see with those through holes, it is going to lighten up the knife a little bit, and they're very well cut out, very clean. Everything's done very clean on this knife, very well done. The hand satin is very well done. Although I probably would prefer like a grind satin over the hand satin, but it hides the scratches better. Look at all those scratches. This is a work knife. This is a knife that gets used a lot, so you're gonna get scratches on that nice, beautiful hand satin. Grind lines don't show those scratches as much, so you guys can see that. Moving out of the fit and finish, which is excellent, is into the action. And you guys can see that it is pretty sweet. The snappiness of this detent, oh, by the way, this is ceramic detent, is excellent. It just snaps right. As soon as that releases, it just flies out. It's almost inherent. You don't really need to like get used to this knife. No matter which way you push that thumb stud, this thing is just gonna fly out. And you can, if you're really careful, you can release it without having it fly out. You just gotta put like the pad of your thumb and push down and then out, and it will release. So you can slow roll it out. Although that detent sometimes makes it tough. It wants to fire, but yeah. And then you can, since it's a single side thumb stud, which I kind of wish it was on both sides. I wish he re-engineered that to be able to go on both sides, although I understand why he only did one on this example. Oh, you can spidey flick it. Obviously, I'm doing this left-handed under a camera, so it's not as smooth, but yeah, you can spidey flick it really nicely with the left hand. So if you had a double thumb stud, it would, a double lug, it would be much better, in my opinion, but I understand why he didn't do it there. But yeah, really nice action, guys. And then as far as the closing action, this is on Teflon washers, guys. I'm tired of Teflon washers getting a bad rap because they are probably the smoothest option out there. Much smoother than bearings. Much smoother than bearings. And even smoother than phosphor bronze washers for the most part, as long as the tolerances are good. This one flies out, and with a light shake, it drops, and light shake drop, and then, you know, you can swing it in. It's not like a free dropper, but I don't really care. I think this action is amazing. I'd rather have that than like a free dropping bearing sometimes, bearing knife. Here's another Teflon washer knife that's incredibly smooth. I think Teflon washers get a bad rap because of cheap gas station knives, and people need to get over that. Teflon washers are amazing. They are great, especially in EDC knives. You don't have to worry about getting dirt and grime or even oiling. You don't have to oil your knives. So with Teflon, it's kind of self-lubricating. Excellent action, guys. Very, very enjoyable. It's one of those things. And that detent, guys. Just excellent. Sucks it in really nice. The sound is interesting, guys. If you hear because of that tungsten interface, there's like a different sound when it opens. You're hearing the tungsten snap into place instead of titanium or steel. So definitely an interesting sound. But very great action. I thoroughly enjoyed using and just, flicking this knife. It was just a really enjoyable knife to fidget with, or obviously to use, which I'm going to get into now. I'm going to go ahead and put the use on the page, put on some footage, and I did get a lot of use with this knife. I managed to just cut up a lot of cardboard. I didn't really get to use it on too much wood or anything like that. It was mostly just cardboard, and I found that it was a joy to cut with. It really just slices through material really well, thanks to the full flat ground blade and relatively thin geometry behind the edge. It is a slicing beast for sure. It could be thinner for sure, but I also think that this thing has been sharpened probably 2 or 3 times by Mason, and then I sharpened it once. So it's definitely, there's been some steel removed. It was probably even thinner when he first got it. But in saying that, this thing is much thinner than your average, average production knife, thankfully. But it slices very well. And if you guys know Mason, you'll know that is kind of Mason's MO. He really is more into a slicing type of blade with a thin geometry. Whether it be stock thickness or not, stock thickness has less to do with the cutting ability than your behind the edge thickness, at least with most of the stuff that we cut in our everyday life. Unless you're cutting something that's extremely rigid or stiff, and you need the material, and the material doesn't split away, then yes, a thin stock thickness would help with that as well. Whereas this knife isn't necessarily a thick stock. We're looking at it pretty much an average stock. You're looking at almost like the stock thickness of a 940. So that's perfectly, that's fine. I mean, it should be more than adequate for slicing any type of material. It's just really a joy to cut with. And I really enjoyed this drop point shape of the blade. I think it looks great. Although I think personally I would go for I think it's like the Wharncliffe blade. The one that Mason just got on his last Scout is beautiful. It's like a harpooned Wharncliffe, I believe is what he calls it. But really cool blade shape. Although I do like this drop point as well. I think I'm drawn a little bit more to the Wharncliffe blade. It was just a real joy to use this knife, guys. And I did have a little bit of an issue with the ergonomics, but I think that was more of a personal preference thing, and I'll get more into that when I bring you guys back. It really was, there's not a lot to not like about this knife. It really is just a well-made tool. So, in saying that, I think I got enough of my footage in. I'll go ahead and bring you guys back and talk a little bit more about the geometry and ergonomics. First things first, I'll bring in my calipers, and we'll go ahead and look at the geometry. This is at 15 degrees per side. I'm going to be really careful here because this hand sat in, yeah, that's right, guys, 11 thousandths. Just a slicing beast. About 15 there. Starts to thicken up as it gets towards the belly. Again, 15, almost 16 thousandths right there. Just excellent, guys. Excellent geometry. All right, so get up to about 24 at the tip. Yeah, 23 thousandths at the tip. So really, really nice, guys. Excellent geometry, excellent cutting ability. That is just very, very well done. I failed to mention this is M390, guys, done by Bowler, done at Bowler's facility. So it should be done well. I think he targets 61 to 62, which I found that this performed well. Like, it seemed to hold an edge really well. I stropped it back, and then I used it a whole, another day I used it, and this thing is just still very sharp. So yeah, really, really happy with the way this M390's, treated. Although I think it could have been done a little bit harder. I know that he doesn't go higher than 62 because it's done by Bowler. They don't suggest that. We all know it can go higher than 62, but 62 is a good number. 61 to 62, we're gonna see some really good performance from M390. So, and I did find that in use. It performed very well. It's still kind of sticky, which is nice, even though I did put quite a bit of use on it. I don't know if it's shaving. Yeah, it's not shaving really, but I did get quite a bit of use. A little bit of maybe scrape shave. But yeah, very well done. Really happy with the way this is done. As far as ergonomics though, guys, this is where I kind of had an issue. So at first I thought it was a little thin, like it felt a little thin in my hand. But I realized it's not necessarily that. It is right on that cusp of being too thin. I think of like the 940 as like the tipping point where it's just too thin right here. And it starts to feel like it wants to move in your hand as you're cutting. And you can't get that solid grip on it. The 940 is right there. It's as thin as I'll go. But this one is a little bit thicker due to this hump. There's a little more space here. But because of this drop down here, I found that that's actually what bothers me a little bit. I tend to do a push cut. Like almost like a pinch grip push cut. And I find that my preference is leaning more towards a flat back knife and something where you can really get a solid purchase and there's no weirdness, there's no hard spot or anything like that. Again, even with an arched back, you've got like a flat spot here where if you're pushing hard through a material, you don't get like a point or anything. And if you want a hammer grip, you've got a nice flat surface up top to push up against. With the Scout, what I found was that this point kind of lands in no man's land for me. If you're in a saber grip, if you use a saber grip, this is excellent. It works just right. If you use, a Filipino grip or something like that, it's still going to be really good. But if you use a hammer grip a lot, this point can become an issue. And then especially in like a pinch grip, I found that point wants to dig right into the knuckle and just was not very comfortable in use in that sense. I had to really adjust my my grip in order to get a comfortable spot. This is where I got disconnected a little bit from the knife. Although, if I just sat back and used it in a saber grip or something, it cut really well and was very comfortable. But when I tried to adjust my grip to something else to get through something, then again, like hammer wasn't bad. It was just when it was, you know, there were spots where it would bother me, but hammer grip is probably where I used it most. I just couldn't get into the pinch grip. I had to just resort to the hammer grip. And in the hammer grip, it is a little thin, guys, especially back here. It's a little thin, I have to say. So that's the one thing I'm not super happy with. I prefer something like this. It fills my hand better. It's more comfortable in more variety of grips. You know, even something like this, I find to be more comfortable in a variety of grips. But we're talking personal preference right now, guys. So I don't like to get, you know, too deep into it. But again, my hands, guys, I have a 3 3/4 inch broad, 4 inches tall, and then 6 1/4 to 6 1/2 from this point to this point. So you can kind of get an idea of how that's going to fit in your hand. I found it a little thin personally. Mason does not, though, so it's definitely a preference thing. And this is contoured very well. So, you know, it really does just disappear in your hand. For me, it's just a little bit too much. It disappears. But yeah, really, really well done. Just doesn't quite fit my style, my hands personally, the way I cut personally. So yeah, that's what I have to say about it ergonomically. Although I do think it's done very well for what it is. I just personally don't love the design of the back, but yeah, that's about that. And then as far as the carry, guys, I'll get back into this clip. As far as carry goes, this clip is very well done. Ergonomically, I actually found that the clip is really well done. I don't notice these pillars much. It's a nice flat surface up here, so you don't get hot spot there. This has enough ramp, but it's low enough that it's not going to poke you in the palm. Very, very well done. And I love that this is the only logo on this whole thing, too. That's pretty nice. JG, that's it. Nothing else. No markings, nothing else. I really like that. So, very clean. But yeah, so as far as the carry goes, it really does go in and out of the pocket really well. You've got the cutout on the inside, so that's a nice touch. Just really, really a pleasure to carry. And with all this weight relief everywhere, you know, holes and stuff, and pretty small handle. We've got carbon fiber on one side. This thing stays really light as well. Well, you've got a titanium side. You're looking at just over 3 ounces, guys. That is incredible. With a 3.2 inch blade, so extremely light. That could be a benefit or negative to some people, I guess. If you like your knife to feel a little more substantial, but this balance is really, really well done. So really nice balance right at the finger choil. So really, really well done. And I found it to be super comfortable like that. So yeah, and I do like that the cutting edge almost comes all the way back to your finger, so you don't have to worry about losing a bunch of space or having a finger choil and then wasting a bunch of space back here. I like that it's just one shot. You're in the spot, so I do enjoy that. The pocket, it was really nice. Sorry, it bounced around a little bit. But yeah, in the pocket, it does really well. You can see it does lean back a little bit. You don't have any flippers or anything to contend with. I found that it was really nice going by it. That small channel helps with that too. Very comfortable. Just really nice to carry, so I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I enjoyed the knife overall. In conclusion, I think it was really well made. I don't want to get too into like the you know, like people's experience with Jason Guthrie or anything like that, because it's not my experience. I can't really attest to anything personally. But as far as the way this knife is made, I think it was made really well. Very, very nice. Super, super snappy and super fun to play with. A joy to use. Although I would probably go for something different as far as the back. It sucks because I really like the knife overall. It's just that I just don't. It doesn't work for me. But I definitely am going to keep an eye out for some of his other models or something, maybe something that has a straighter back. But really, really nice. And again, I cannot thank Mason enough for his kindness and lending this to me and patience with me as far as getting it back to him. So yeah, I really, really appreciate that, Mason, and just appreciate you as a friend. And that's pretty much it, guys. I just want to say this is a great option, guys. If you're into this sort of thing, if you like that sort of back of a knife, if you use a saber grip a lot, if you use a hammer grip a lot, you'll probably be okay. Just a really, really well-made knife, and I think you're getting your money's worth here. I believe they kind of range between like $700 and $1,000, depending on what type, what amenities you get with it, but so many different options. He has like raindrop patterns on the back and copper inlaid carbon fiber and all kinds of cool stuff. So really great with the options he has. I like his lock interface. It's pretty cool and a great idea that this knife is going to last forever. It has little things like a hardened stop pin, so it's going to last a really long time and not get flat spots. Just little things, attention to detail is what he seems to be good at, and he definitely seemed to nail it on this one. I would love to see Mason's other one, but I would never ask that of him, because for one, I've had this one for a while, and for two, that other one is, oh man, that thing is just so bad to the bone. But anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it brought you some value, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.